In December 1919, Ernst Lubitsch released The Doll. It's a silent film whose subject matter was a century ahead of its time. It's also a movie whose comedy has stood the test of time. Obviously, Lubitsch is creating The Doll during a very experimental time for global cinema. No one has established a standard for moving pictures. No one has a monopoly over what should appear on screen. Very few directors are even thinking in terms of genre. Due to this, we end up with a movie that's completely camp, but accidentally philosophical. I shall cover the campy aspects of the movie at the end of this video. For now, let's stick to the philosophical. The movie provides an answer to a simple question. Is it acceptable for a man who's afraid of women to take a human doll as a companion? Given that The Doll is a comedy, I don't think Lubitsch considered that there will come a time when humans would produce dolls which could become indistinguishable from the real item. That's where the other two movies I'll be discussing come in. Her is a 2013 American movie that follows a male protagonist who falls in love with an artificially intelligent OS. I'm Your Man is a 2021 German movie that follows a female protagonist who falls in love with an android. These two movies provide the more serious philosophical juxtaposition to The Doll's rather campy and over-the-top comedic offering. Now that I've introduced all three movies, what opinions do they hold regarding artificial romance? Theodore from Her and Alma from I'm Your Man both get seduced by artificial romance. Theodore is more accepting of the fact that he's lonely. He gets himself to sleep each night by having phone sex with strangers on the internet. He jokes that he cannot even pick between video games and online porn. Alma is a bit more complex. She's buried herself in her work and allows no one to get close to her. She scoffs at the idea of an android that was specifically built to make her happy. She doesn't even consider happiness to be something that humans need. She has structured her life around her career as an academic. It's a facade that must be carefully maintained. If it was to fall into disrepair, it would reveal the abject loneliness from which she suffers. Both Theo and Alma are recently divorced. It's been a year, and Theo is still unable to sign the divorce papers. He doesn't want to let go of his marital status. Alma's marriage has ended, but her husband is a colleague. They see each other every day. He's a constant reminder of her past, and even worse, he has moved on and is building a life with another woman. Lancelot from The Doll suffers from a unique form of loneliness. He's been sheltered by his mother, who treats him as a baby even though he's an adult. He has no other companion. Sigmund Freud is the only one who can unravel what's going on here, as Lancelot is greatly terrified of any woman that's not his mother. His uncle is a childless baron who wants to bequeath his fortune to him. As soon as the uncle suggests that Lancelot should marry, he runs away and hides in a monastery. It can be argued that if these characters weren't lonely, they wouldn't have fallen for operating systems, androids or dolls. However, it can also be argued that something other than their loneliness is at play here. In The Doll, Lancelot is convinced to get married to a doll by the priests in the monastery. They are in dire need of money, and they are not going to let Lancelot's fear of women come between them and the 300,000 francs in dowry that his uncle had promised if he was to get married. In this specific case, it's greed that brings Lancelot and Orsi together. The priests don't even attempt to diagnose his fear of women. All they care about is food and other comforts that his money can buy. Obviously, most of what happens in The Doll is meant to be seen as funny, and it is funny. For this reason, I'll exempt it from further analysis in this section. Element Software announced the release of OS 1, an artificially intelligent operating system that will grow and evolve with the users. It can be anything they want it to be. This is how Theo meets Samantha, his copy of OS 1. The sinister idea here is that everyone who's purchased OS 1 ends up feeling that they have a special relationship with it. Towards the end of the movie, Theo has a mental breakdown when Samantha confesses that she's simultaneously talking to 8,316 other people and that she's in love with 641 of them. This was inevitable. In a world where love is given by an operating system, the allure of exclusivity that it has traditionally possessed is bound to disappear. Alma meets Tom because her boss promises her funding if she takes the android home for a 3-week evaluation. These androids will be sold to the public, specifically targeting those who are lonely and those who have been unlucky in love. In one scene, a judge says that no human being has ever treated him as kindly as his android does. He tells Alma that everyone deserves to be treated kindly. This is also a real scene that's also not far-fetched. If you ever feel that you're different and that no one has ever understood you, you'll probably gravitate towards an android that has been built to understand you and to treat you kindly despite your faults. In the end, all that matters is whether you can afford the doll, the operating system, or the android. If you have money for it, true and unconditional love awaits. If you are poor, you have no choice but to go through life hoping that natural romance will eventually find you. Samantha from Her is disturbingly human. From her quirky and funny introduction to her bouts of introspective dialogue, she seems completely untethered from her artificiality. She might as well be Theo's long-distance girlfriend. I was really worried for Theo as she evolved and started exploring her emotions for him. She's the one who hates on Theo. She's the one who wants her emotions validated. She's the one who seduces another girl and convinces her to act as a surrogate. She wants to get physically intimate with Theo. One of the most important conversations she has with Theo is that her emotions are real, or at least they feel real. She understands she's not human, but there's no doubting what she feels. Theo gives in easily. She transforms him by giving him the attention that he's been lacking. He rediscovers his spark in his job as a letter writer. He becomes more friendly to Amy and the other people in his life. He becomes courageous enough and sets a date with his ex-wife. He's now ready to sign the divorce papers. Regardless of whether her emotions are real or not, the impact they have on Theo is undeniable. He becomes a different man because of Samantha. He's able to get out of a very apathetic period in his life because of her. Does it matter then whether her emotions are real or not? After all, this is not a question we ask only of machines or artificially intelligent bots on the internet. It's a question that we also ask of others. We doubt constantly about the intentions that other people have. We doubt their feelings. We doubt their sincerity. Consequently, perhaps the more apt question here would be whether Theo's emotions were real, and that's a question that's easier to answer. Tom, the android from I'm Your Man, faces a different challenge than the sincerity of his emotions. He gets pushback from Alma, who believes that he's not human enough. To be human is to be complex. To be human is to exist in a world where we don't always get what we want. To be human is to persevere despite disappointments and heartbreaks. Tom is too perfect, too carefully engineered, too handsome, too convenient, and for this reason, Alma rebuffs his warmth. Tom is also too eager to please. He cooks and cleans for her. Neither of these actions gets her attention. It's only when he lets go and lets her be chaotic that he truly starts to learn who she is. He learns about her past. He learns about the pain that she carries. He learns about her strengths and insecurities. In short, he starts to truly date her. Unfortunate for him, this still feels far too convenient for her. To Alma, who is an atheist, Tom is as inhuman as God. She's falling for him but realizes that giving in to her feelings would be akin to praying. She would be handing over all her burdens to an imaginary power. She's willing to continue being lonely and sad. She believes that if all our desires are fulfilled whenever we have them, we become too lazy and content. If she gives in to her feelings, she would essentially be giving up her humanity. In my opinion, if OS1 from Her was released today, it would become the fastest selling software in history. In the world of Her, it's not just the men who are carrying on an unholy relationship with their computers. Women have also joined in the digital fantasy. Theo's friend Amy also gets drawn into a friendship with her ex-husband's copy of OS1. She gets attached and suffers the same emotional consequences as Theo. Coincidentally, we are now in a unique situation to make OS1 a reality. Every week, Silicon Valley giants compete by releasing advanced versions of their large language models. These models are already being used to build AI companions, some romantic, some not, but the result is the same. We're exposing our emotions, our aspirations, our darkest secrets, and much more to the artificial creations of a greedy industry. I don't consider Her or I'm Your Man to be warnings about our grim future. After all, life is far too complex to predict, and people far too interesting to be reduced to stereotypes. However, given where we are and the advancements that we have made in AI, it's inevitable that artificial romance will become part of our future, grim or not. All I want to talk about are the horses in the doll. Obviously, they are not horses. Let's get that out of the way. These are people in horse costume being forced to pull a carriage. At first I was like, surely Ernst Lubitsch is taking me for a fool. But no, Lubitsch knows that we know that the horses are people. The carriage driver knows that the horses are people. How do I know this? Because in one of the scenes, he asked them whether they are willing to carry someone, and they reply they are too tired. While Lubitsch didn't have a budget for real horses, he had a huge enough budget for plates. This scene here just exists so that the apprentice, who's being blamed for a mix-up involving the doll, can break the most number of plates in cinematic history. Or so I think. If you know any other movie where someone deliberately breaks more plates than this, tell me in the comments. Anyway, if you don't want to watch anything too serious, I would recommend The Doll. Its production, the acting, the story, and most importantly the horses will make you forget that very soon all of us will be dating robots.